So, remember back around FDIC when I said Hikes was coming out with a new state-of-the-art structural fire boot? Well, they did, and I had the opportunity to try it on, and I gotta say, it was really, really comfortable. The Fire Eagle Extreme boot is really kinda cool. The laces are a little different. Yeah, there's a lacing system that may take some getting used to, but it's a great trade-off to get such a good fit around the foot and calf. Trust me, this thing ain't going nowhere once you put it on, which is awesome in our line of work. So go check them out at hikesusa.com or on their IG at hikes_America and use code THESIZEUP, all caps, to save yourself $25 off your order. That's code THESIZEUP, all caps, at hikesusa.com. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Size Up by National Fire Radio. Hopefully you're joining. Well, you're joining me. You're tuning in. I don't even know what to say. These intros are the worst. And I say this now every week, like week after week. I got to get a better intro, but we'll get there eventually. But whether you're tuning in, you're listening, you're watching on YouTube, I definitely want to again say thank you, because everyone out there listening is the reason I keep doing this each week, because it's just amazing. To know that so many people are listening and hopefully learning from the guests that I get the privilege to interview here. So this week is no different. For episode 33, I have a gentleman on with me who's our paths crossed. Let's just say we've never really officially met, which I say a lot, but our paths crossed due to social media. And that's not even the reason that he's here with me today, because our paths crossed again with a good friend of ours that we're going to talk about here too. But Mike Coleman from the Memphis Fire Department and the Bluff City Combat Team, welcome to the Size Up, man. Thanks for joining me today.
No, I appreciate you having me on.
This is my first guest from a car, so that's using a car,
Yeah.
their backup studio.
Yeah, it's a little different. If I was on shift, it'd be a little bit different, but I had some things to do there.
It looks like a two-door pickup truck you're in right now.
Oh yeah, it's the best truck ever. It's 2002 with 40,000 miles on it.
2002 with 40,000 miles on it.
Yeah,
that is a win, my friend. Like how you can keep that one going is unbelievable. The light mileage. I feel like I put 40,000 miles on a car in a year here in New Jersey. So.
Oh yeah, I bet you do up there.
Well, what kind of a truck is it though? Now that I'm going to ask, because
it's a single cab F-150. It was my wife's grandfather's, and I was gifted it via my father-in-law. And he goes, "Here you go. You want a truck?" I said, "Why not?"
Well, that is perfect.
Great.
It's not a Dodge Ram though, like I drive, so I have to be against it. So I'm sorry, but it sounds like a great way to get a truck. So.
Right.
And now everybody's like either hates me or hates you because you have a Ford and I have a Dodge. So we pretty much split the interest.
You got to have the haters somewhere, I guess.
That is true. That is true. So let's get into your story a little bit. How did you get into the fire service? Whenever you got into the fire service.
So I started out my whole journey, college career and stuff at the University of Utah, and I was for architecture. I did about a year and a half, and figured that wasn't what I wanted to do. And I have a cousin who was a fireman, a Memphis fireman actually, and he would always tell these awesome stories of him being deployed with USAR and everything like that. And so it got to the point when I was frustrated with architecture where I was like, you know what, I want to do that. So it was literally just a flip of the switch. And so I started going to a fire college in Orem, Utah, and I got all my EMS certs, my fire certs there. I worked for a few part-time departments up there before I moved back down to Memphis, because I'm originally from this area. And then I've been assigned rescue 2 for a couple of years now. But I love it. I'm going on my 9 years down here anyway.
And how long? So it's always interesting, you're from Utah and you said you went to fire college. So is that how things kind of work there, where you're able to get all your certs through a college, or?
So there's different ways to do it. And I kind of, when we went up there and competed, I kind of had a talk with some of the guys up there, because they were asking how they get into fire stuff. And I said, look, you have one or two ways. You have departments up there that have their own academy that they give you certifications that way, or you have regular college students who pay this amount of money and they get IPSAC and Pro Board certifications, and EMS as well. And so that's the route I took, because I didn't know how to start it all. But you can have Joe Schmo off the street, right out of high school, can apply to any of bigger departments, and they can get the certifications that way.
It's actually really strange too, and it's just crazy how my life works. I have a friend here in New Jersey whose son is recently asked about getting hired in Utah, and I'm like, I do have someone out there that I connected him with, but I didn't know that's where you were from. So it's those
Yeah.
weird connections in life that you can be like, hey, look, now I got someone else to explain how this may work or work
Right.
differently. Because I don't think a lot of people, and a lot of my listeners are outside of the fire service, so it's just so different everywhere you go, right? And it's more amazing that
Mm-hmm.
you were able to take your stuff from Utah and then bring it to Memphis, right? And
Mm-hmm.
did that mostly translate or no?
It did mostly translate. I still had to go through some type of academy, but it was really expedited. This is before lateral was a thing, and so I pretty much had to sit through the academy. And I mean, I already had all my certifications, and so you had everybody else who would just apply normally, and they had to go through the whole process. They had fire school, and then they had to go back for a couple years of EMS, and I just got to go straight out to the field after we graduated.
So it's always a win to not have to sit through more school. Not that
Oh yeah,
school is bad, not that school is very good and
true.
education is important, but it's much better to get out in the field as fast as you can, especially in this service, because when you're
Mm-hmm.
new, you just want to work, plain and simple,
Oh
right?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's. I've never been a huge fan of the whole lecture by death by lecture and stuff like that, and so I'm a hands-on person. So I was ready to go get to work.
I would feel like architecture school would be death by lecture a lot.
Oh yeah, it was rough. I thought it'd be like my grandfather. They had the big boards where they had the pencils and the papers, all that kind of stuff, but everything was all computers and everything. I was like, I just it's not. I'm not into it.
Yeah, it's definitely something I've never even bothered to look at aside from, thinking of the
Uh-huh.
person with the big board sitting with the pencil drawing a building
Yep.
type of a thing.
Uh-huh.
And I would think too there'd be a lot of math in that, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's very math heavy, which really helped me in the fire service once you get into the technical rescues and stuff like that. But I mean, it just wasn't my cup of tea. It wasn't what I thought it was. As an 18-year-old going into college, I said, "Oh, this is going to be great. It's just play to my skills." And I figured out, no, I don't have the patience for it.
It's such a big thing too with kids, and being a dad and having kids soon to be at that near college age, where you have to pick, you don't have to pick what you're going to do for the rest of your life, but you're expected to make this humongous decision
Uh-huh.
at 16 or 17, where, now at our age, we know, absolutely nothing about life at that point. And
Right.
you see a lot of folks who are in debt now from that, which is a whole nother another problem, and catching it early seems to be the win to me.
Oh yeah, yeah. But a way I was told about it right when I started out with the whole college thing was your first year and a half. My parents, anyway, they said, "Well, you're really figuring things out." And I thought I was right the whole time. I was like, "I'm going to be an architect. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that." They were right because I went a totally different way.
It's so true, and I think we're seeing it, especially in the fire service, at least here in New Jersey, where we're hiring people who are older. By older, I mean like in their late 20s, early 30s,
Hmm.
who kind of did the college thing and decided whatever they did the college thing for was not for them. And then they kind of
Hmm.
stumble into the fire service, I guess, or decide this is really what's right for me.
Oh, absolutely. One of my teammates, he actually had his master's in teaching. He started out, he was in think theology, and somehow he got into being a paramedic, and then now he's an instructor at the academy. And he's actually testing for EMS lieutenant and fire lieutenant. And he tested last week for fire lieutenant, and in 2 weeks he'll test for EMS lieutenant. So he just stumbled upon this world, and he loves it.
It's great though too, and this has been a big thing on social media recently. I think in the world, but definitely in the fire service world, that our newer recruits or our newer people entering the fire service, they're very different than they were 30 years ago. And when you think about
Uh-huh.
that, they were different 30 years ago than they were 30 years before that. But we're getting folks like you just said, someone who was in school for theology and education, but he's already doing some instructing in the fire service. So he's able to take some knowledge that he got about a totally different subject and bring it to
Uh-huh.
the fire service. And watching people grow like that is just amazing to me.
Oh, absolutely. It's fire service is very versatile. People think it's just wet stuff on red stuff, and then you're all chilling out in the bay, or kicking it, or washing their cars, whatever it is. But there's so many different venues to where we really help, I guess, make a foundation for the community.
Yeah, and it gives that ability to do almost anything, depending on
Hmm.
the department you're in, even with education and you slid the community in there where we're doing public education for the community in some departments that are teaching CPR, they're teaching what to do if there's a fire in your house. I know we do a lot with the seniors where I work, where just talking to senior citizens about what to do if there is smoke in your house, where you should be
Right.
going. And that's a whole part of it. And you take someone, again, like your friend with the education degree, they kind of can
Mhm.
even teach us how to teach other people because that's a huge part of education.
Oh, absolutely. It's I guess on the opposite spectrum of that, we have a couple college athletes that have helped really shape like our athletic I guess our athletic drive with just the recruits. They've really changed some things as far as, helping different types of trainings. Because it's not like how it used to be, jumping jacks and push ups. That's all you did. And you ran until your feet fell off. Now there's a whole different switch of change of things. And so it's been good to have a different influx and different perspectives from all over.
Yeah, and to be able to take their knowledge again, like that sports
Mhm.
performance knowledge. I'm like, my words are killing me today. I'm like the worst host ever here. But and bring that type of knowledge to again making firefighters better. If you
Mhm.
go back and listen to episode 30, let me look through my notes here so I don't pick the wrong one. 31 with Rick Roman of the FDNY CrossFit. He went to college for sports performance and education
Mhm.
and was a performance coach and worked with some companies and things prior to getting hired. And that's exactly what he's talking about, taking those new found ways to make us healthier and better and bringing them to the fire service.
Oh, absolutely. I love how it's ever changing. Now you have the old heads that won't ever change, but you have this, like you said, the newer generations coming along where they're constantly introducing new ways and they're doing their own research and trying different things out, and they're bringing them to us and be like, "Hey, look, we might want to try this way because I've seen this, that, and the other," and then we start trying them, and there's better, more efficient ways of doing anything, really, if you think about it.
There's a video that was floating around the internet a few years ago. I want to say it was a St. Louis Rams coach who was kind of an older gentleman, let's say, an
Mm-hmm.
older coach, and he was watching all the guys stretch, and they got him on mic, mic'd up or whatever, and he's saying to one of the other players, like, "Who do you think these guys stretched the day they stormed the beach in Normandy? We're out here spending more time stretching than learn. Look at these guys; they were storming the beach. They didn't stretch before they did that, and they didn't know
Right.
any about that." And again, it's just that things have changed and we've learned that you could be a little healthier, let's say, than what was going on there to keep it going.
Right.
It's that same type of theory that why not learn from what you can do, and
Mhm.
there's no reason to run people until their feet fall off anymore.
Mhm. It's really just set people up for success, whatever it is, and it's really just if you set the foundation right, you don't automatically put them on the receiving end of something negative, be it like fitness or training or any type of academics. It's the same type of thing, setting the stage for these people or these recruits or academies, anything at all, to where they can actually do well.
Yeah, I love getting new recruits that just came out of our academy because they teach us things because I haven't gone back to the academy since I went to the academy a very long time ago. I've taken
Right.
classes and things and learned things, but when they learn it, they're just so fresh and they come
Oh
to
yeah.
you and they're even more shocked when you're like, wait, teach me that. Show me how to tie that
Hmm.
knot that way. And they're like, what do you mean? 'Cause I'm like, no one ever showed me that before. Or what you can do
Right.
with webbing. Like if you think about when you got in the fire
Hmm.
service or I got in the fire service, what we used webbing for, as opposed to what they're using it for now. I'm like, show
Hmm.
me how to do that one more time, please.
Right, just everything. Yeah, we have a newer guy who just got introduced to the special ops program. He's assigned into 29 on a different ship, and he's actually on the team as well. He comes in and we call him the golden retriever because he's just always just ready to learn and he's learning new things and bringing them to us. But like, I saw this on YouTube, I saw this on what Facebook or whatever one of the pages he follows, and so it kind of keeps us on our toes because I mean they might find something that's way more efficient than the way we do it. So it constantly has us looking to see what the next step is.
That is one of our favorite like rainy day drills because we can do it in the TV room too. But we just throw on
Mm-hmm.
YouTube and type in firefighting and do like most recent searches and
Mm-hmm.
see what comes up. Some episodes are firefighting gone badly because you watch people and you're like,
Yeah.
whoa, that's. But
Yeah.
you have to learn as to what those folks could be doing, and that could be very right for their situation. But you have to
Hmm.
compare it to your own situation. And
Hmm.
newer learners are definitely learning. I just know from my kids alone, the things they learn on YouTube. That's the way people are learning now, and
Yep.
you have to flip the script as to the way you're learning as well to make that better. But I think that's a huge part of this.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. So we recently had a line of duty death, and it was about a month ago, and I had a lot of people armchair quarterbacking it, and I was there. And I was like, guys, I'm sorry, you can YouTube it or say you done this, that, and the other, but when it comes down to brass tacks, you got to do the best thing you can.
Yeah, I mean, and again, listen, see, I always say like I don't want to armchair quarterback things, but I do. Everybody does,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's you weren't there, so you
Hmm.
can look at it now and say, "Oh, we wouldn't have done it that way." But you never know what you would have done when you were there. But even the mere
Right.
fact, and even you guys in your situation, I'm sure you've learned some things from what happened
Hmm.
that day, and that's a big
Oh
part of
yeah.
it too.
Yeah. No, there's definitely some shortcomings, and luckily the command staff is being very proactive about it and trying to circumvent problems like that in the future. Um, but it's all just trying to learn, and luckily we're being more progressive about this, rather than just being like, oh, just reactive.
Yeah, and that's a huge part of it too, reaction versus progressing forward, where it's
Hmm.
easy to just yell and scream and stomp your feet
Hmm.
in the ground or say, "Oh, this shouldn't have happened," but it did. And how are you
Right.
going to make that better into the next step is a huge part of it.
Right.
So, I mean, it seems like that's the direction you guys are going in. And again, it's just
Hmm.
learning of it all, that I think is huge. It's almost like this has become the education podcast that it wasn't supposed to be.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's the route it decided to take.
I told you we didn't know which way we were going to go. We're not even
Yeah.
into how you started the combat team yet and things like that. But I think
Right.
that's all part of growth too, is learning that you can try new things, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I'll kind of tell you how this came to be, the whole combat thing, because it's been just a whirlwind of everything that's been going on. So we were sitting in the bay last year. It was, I want to say, February, and something popped up. Actually, it was from FDIC. Got a notification that Pensacola was doing a combat challenge, and their version of the combat challenge is on the beach. So no stairs, but there's just sand everywhere. So it is horrible.
Sucks.
But start talking about it. My driver now, he goes, I said it'd be really cool to, do this competition. He goes, well, why don't we just do it? I said, you know what, you're right. And so that's all it took. And I mean, it just took for me to click and be like, we should do this. We're the eighth biggest department in the country. Why are we not doing more things like this? And so we started that competition, and come to find out, Memphis had a team about 21, 22 years ago. And at one point they were, world champions and stuff. And so that's kind of unraveled a whole bunch of, a big old ball of yarn, figuring all the old guys want to compete with us, which they're going to. And then they've helped us along the way. And man, it's grown into something crazy. I never thought in a million years that we'd be on the main stage and compete against these big teams and put up a pretty good fight, and sometimes coming on top.
It's so amazing too because I kind of met you around the formation of your team, again through social media. But when you think about it, and to make a successful team in anything you do, it's going to take passion, it's going to take time, it's going to take effort. Did you even think it was going to be half the commitment it was when you were sort of
No,
sitting there with your driver, like, oh, let's do it. Let's roll down to Pensacola and check it out.
absolutely not. Absolutely not. And my wife, she has days now. She competes now too because she's a nurse, and first responders can compete in the competition. But in the beginning, it was horrible. She hated me talking about it all the time, training about it all the time, just thinking about it and this, that, and the other. But now, I mean, we're the same person, And so it took a while. It's a lot of growing pains, but like you said, it just took a couple passionate people, and luckily we have. I think it's three out of the six original founders still competing, and so I mean, we're just constantly pushing it to the next level.
And two, when you do something like that, it almost becomes a little infectious. Where I'm sure now, if you have three out of the original six, but on top of that, how many other people were like, "Oh, I was thinking about doing this. Can I
Mm-hmm.
do it too now?"
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I think now our roster is We have 12 going to nationals in September, and then we have two more going to worlds. They're only not able to get coverage just because they're so new on the department. But so I think last year we had a total of 17, and this year 15. But because of classes and stuff, people had to drop out. But I've already talked to them all, and they plan on coming back once they get their paramedic license and stuff like that. And so it's been just crazy. We now have a dispatcher, the first ever dispatcher to compete, and we got our gold medal up in Las Vegas, which that was a first for them, and they loved it. But my wife and the dispatcher are going to try to run a tandem at one of these upcoming competitions, and they said that'll be the first ever first responder only competitors to compete as a tandem, and they're both females as well.
So I was unaware too. Well, I guess everything changes a little bit, and I know that the combat challenge has changed a little bit when it came to recently sponsorship and I guess how it's run or where it's run. And I've never done it. I've seen it done a lot. There's a few reasons why I've never done it. One is my wife saying that you can't do that because I'm not going to listen to you talk about it or watch you put yourself through what she's watched me put myself through when I decide to take on a challenge, which is a big thing because it's not just, it is, you can just show up and do it. Anybody can show up and do it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that's what folks say to me. I know at FDIC, they kind of have like a try it out day. Do they do that at all the places or?
So FDIC is the big opener, and obviously we have the main stage because everyone around from the world is there to watch us do it. And they have a little bit where you can, go play with some stuff. But I mean, you're right. Us as firemen, we don't like to show up, half cocked. You want to go all out. You want to be prepared for it because no one wants to go on the main stage and fail in front of everybody.
This is true.
And so it's the competition has changed. We started last year, then they rebranded for this year. Now it's the Firefighter Challenge League. Last year was Combat. And so they tell us before every competition, you guys are professional athletes. And I said, I don't know if I want to be professional. I'm amateurly professional or professionally amateur.
Well, I think too, and we talk about that a lot, firefighters as athletes and tactical athletes, and that word gets thrown around, and then people want to compare us to athletes, and it's a little different because when you're a professional athlete in any sport, that is your main goal, right? Is that professional athlete in that competition. Where you guys, one of your large goals is winning that competition, but you also have all the firefighting end of it, all of our career end of it. And I feel like that's always going to be first. So it's kind of a hard comparison to me.
Oh, absolutely. And we have a lot of people who come out and just train with us. People who don't want to have no interest in competing, but they know that'll help them one way or another. And I tell everybody, I said, if you have any indication in your mind about coming out and just trying this, come out and try it because if you just practice with us, we'll send you home to your family better off.
Yeah, you're gonna be fitter, healthier, better for the job, better for your family for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, not a lot of people, or I mean, not everyone can go to the gym and spend 2 or 3 hours lifting weights. That doesn't interest them. But when you give them a goal to compete for, it's something different. Like we have the course set up almost every day because we're, in the middle of the season and stuff. And so I tell people, if you think about it, as soon as the academy gets out and that field is ours, come out there, run it. You want to do the Kaiser, fine. You want to do the dummy drag, cool. You do whatever you want to do. You just have to actually just show up. That's it. All you need is boots and gloves, and we got everything else.
And I think too, early on when you and I were talking, it kind of amazed me how you said people were just coming out because they wanted to work out with you guys too, not run the course per se, not ever compete, but they knew that you were fitnessing and they wanted to come out and be a part of that. So that's one of the things that when you think about just having a goal, whether it be to do the Firefighter Challenge, run a 5K as a team, do any one of the 8 million obstacle races out there, like you said, you're going to want to train for that, and that's going to attract more people.
Oh, absolutely. And the group mentality really helps. Even when you go to a competition for your first competition, you can ask anybody. Everyone there is rooting you on. Like you're in the trenches. It's the worst feeling in the world. Your brain's about to shut off. You're about to pass out. Whatever it is, you have everyone there on the course rooting for you, and it's totally different than you getting beat down by your competitor, because your competitor will finish their race even if they're a mile ahead of you, and then still come stand next to you and cheer you on. Like that's what I love about the competition. That's what really got my wife hooked. She started out just doing the civilian, because it's different weights and everything like that. And she goes, the people cheering me on and rooting me on, that that made me feel like I was wanted to be there. It's not like the stigma of these big gyms where they just show up and everybody's looking at you like, oh, they're lifting more weights than me. No, this one, everyone wants everyone to succeed.
Yeah, I think that's a huge part of it because the people that are watching are in our community. I mean, I know I've watched
Hmm.
enough of the competitions at FDIC or a few other places, and you can see that just in people's faces on the sidelines.
Hmm.
They're want you to succeed. I've seen a few people fall on the dummy drag,
Hmm.
and I've seen people get up and be able to finish, and I've seen people not be able to finish. But the cheering doesn't necessarily change for either of those people. It's not a failure that you didn't finish. It's just,
Hmm.
hey, you have to train harder for next time or whatever it may be. But the competitors and the fans are still out there, with that positive reinforcement.
Absolutely. And you have people that are competing and they're like, oh, I'm not very good, this, that, and the other. And if you think about it in the grand scheme of things, I tell everyone when you go out and they don't do how they want to, you're better than 95% of the people watching right now because they don't have the courage to come out here and at least give it a try. I
They
mean,
got me
it,
beat.
it doesn't take it doesn't take anything to just come out and just be part of a relay. So a relay is five different people, up to five, 3 to 5, and you split the course up however you want. And so we have some bigger fellows that are really talking about doing this, and they said, "Where should I start?" I said, "Just do the hose drag. All you gotta do is pick it up and run, 75 feet or whatever it is, all out. I need 15 seconds of burst energy, and that's all we need from you. That's it." And so they think it's this long, drawn out process of you're out there grinding and this, that, and the other. And I said, you can show up to competition and just do that one part, and you'll feel it. You'll get hooked.
I got a guy for you, actually. He claims he has breakaway speed. One of the guys on my company, we got
Hmm.
challenged to race like a 14-year-old at a community event. And he's like, I think I could
Hmm.
take him. I'm like, I don't think you could take him. He's like, no, breakaway speed. And I'm like, you may have had breakaway speed a long time ago, but it's not 14-year-old breakaway speed. But hey, go out there, man.
Yeah,
You could do what you
yeah.
need to
You
do now.
you got those fresh legs and knees with 14-year-olds.
Yeah, I was like, that kid's gonna crush all of us. But
Right.
people don't think of it that way, right? You think of it as
Hmm.
the whole uh,
Hmm.
events. So all 5 events are there, or 5 different
Yeah.
sections of the course?
Yes. So when people think of the Combat Challenge or the Firefighter Challenge League now, they think of an individual running the whole thing, but that's really not what it is. You can have people do tandems where they split the course in half, and like I said, you could do relays. Relays and tandems aren't on air, so if you're like, I'm not, physically there, or I don't have the cardio, you can do anything for 15 seconds.
And so
And
the relay and tandem is not on. You're not hooked into air during
no,
that.
no,
Okay. You
you have
wear
the pack and everything.
you wear a tank. Okay.
Yeah, you wear the tank, you wear all the structure gear and everything. Everything has to be structure rated. The only time you ever put a mask on is when you're doing individual.
Notorious Fire. Such a great name. Brings me back to bumping mid 90s rap jams from the one and only Biggie Smalls. Lenny is literally the man when it comes to custom designs. Dude went to art school, like legit college for art. Just look at all his work. This guy has artwork on snowboards and even guitars. And he's constantly creating new sticker designs. But more than that, he's customizing tumblers, mugs, glasses, cigar cases. Well, basically anything you can customize at this point, Notorious Fire Company will customize for you. On top of that, his IG game is on point. And occasionally, you even get to see a pic of the man behind the brand. So check him out at notoriousfire.com or on IG at notoriousfire. Trust me, you won't be disappointed in his work. Okay. And then what about just because you mentioned this and I've been meaning to ask, but the first responder division like that your wife or the dispatcher is
Mhm.
doing, are they in gear or what are they wearing?
Mhm.
Full gear.
So, yeah, full gear. So both Mackenzie, which is our dispatcher, and my wife Kristen, they both run in full gear. Mackenzie's first event was Vegas, so she didn't feel confident because she never even put on an SCBA ever, other than just training. She never put on a face piece, nothing. And so she went up there and asked if she could do it without the face piece, do it individual, and they let her do it because we're trying to just grow the sport.
Yeah,
The
that's gonna grow it for
just
sure. Like, or why
right.
would you it would not be a successful day if someone for their first time with an
Hmm.
SCBA face piece on doing any type of challenge.
Right. But then we have competitors like my wife. She went up to FDIC and said, and ask them. There's a guy named Jimmy Johnson. We call him Pops. He's been around, forever. He was a retired Austin fireman, or a retired Austin chief. And so we go, Pops, this is Kristen's first time, well, not in full gear, but the first opportunity she has to run on air. We don't know if she wants to do that. And Pops look at Kristen, and he goes, "You don't have to run on air." And so I could see the wheels turning in her head. She goes, "I want to do it on air." And so she ran on air, and she's not used to how long the Scott face pieces are, but we got her a smaller mask, and she's completed it, I think, 3 times now on air.
That's awesome. I mean, listen, everybody has day one, right? There's that option too that you do. And I would say, just knowing what I know about firefighter training, that if you gave someone the opportunity to just try breathing through a mask and then wearing it for a minute or two to see that when you breathe, the air is coming to you, that you could probably overcome that. But it's just something else that you can try or not try. It's up to you. I love the fact that they have this as an option now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's like I said, they're always trying to, I guess, promote fitness with anyone who wants to try this. Just like us going down to nationals. Nationals starts on the 6th, but they have the fittest Alabama Firefighter Challenge on the 5th, and that's for any that I think they said it was free for any Alabama firefighter that wants to come down and try it, because they're just trying to grow the sport. And honestly, the Southeast right now probably has some of the biggest representation. We have some in Texas and stuff like that, but really the Southeast, for some reason, that's where most of the competitors are. And so we're trying to just grow more and more and more. I would love to take a competition up north to, in y'all's neck of the woods or out to California, but it's just hard to find departments just to nibble on that bait.
Yeah, it is definitely not a northeastern thing. Like it really never has been. From what I understand in the past, they've had a few events here and they just never really took off. But then
Right.
if you skip the Northeast and you go to our friends in the North, the Canadians, they are
Oh God.
beyond anything you can
Mm-hmm.
imagine here.
Oh, that they have the same type of thing up there. It's called Fire Fit. I don't think there's much as far as weights difference, but they are monsters. I mean, we met this one guy. His name is Matthew Baca. He's 6'7", 275, and he's built like a moose. But he just floats on that course. And he was one of the first guys to come help us out in Grand Rapids during our first competition. And they're just great people you can meet around the world that just show up to do this. Last year at Worlds, and even this year at Worlds, they have the Ukrainians coming. They were there at FDIC as well.
Yeah, I
I
remember
think
seeing that.
17, 18 countries, something like that, are registered for Worlds this year in Stuart, Florida.
Is it a competition at World Police and Fire Games too? Do they do some form of the challenge
They
there?
did last year. They did, or this year they did the Ultimate Firefighter, which is a combination of things. But they're actually bringing the challenge itself to Birmingham, 2025. And I've actually been fortunate enough to talk to I guess I call it command staff. I've been able to talk to them, and we're gonna, I've kind of partnered with them, so we're gonna try to bring a competition closer to Birmingham. It'll be in Memphis next year. Is what we're working on. But they're planning on having an actual firefighter challenge there, because it's just a combination for the ultimate firefighter.
Yeah, that's like one of the ultimate firefighter is like a decathlon for firefighters
Mhm.
almost. I think that they do
Yeah.
World Police and Fire Games, right?
Yep. Mhm.
It's more amazing too, and I think you definitely can speak to this better than I can, but there's so many things out there firefighters can do to make themselves healthier or fitter, not just for the
Mhm.
job, but for their life in general. And that's what got you involved in this, right? Aside from just
Mhm.
that talk, but there had to be something before that that was like, we need something a little bit more here. So
Oh,
how did you lead up to that?
absolutely. So us as firemen, we're sitting around, we're having these great meals, putting on. I call it the freshman 15, but really for firemen, it's just fireman 20 is that first year. But everyone's trying to train and do this, that, and the other. But there's so many different ways. Like we're kind of like the unofficial. We have unofficial like Spartan race team that'll go do races, and then we have a stair climb team, and then us. But there's so many different venues that you can go be, an athlete to go do something that translates into you having a better, I guess, time in your career. There's not many jobs that are like that. I can't be an accountant and go do any sport out there, really. I mean, I could be wrong. I don't know. I've never looked it up. I can't be any
Never
normal
wanted to be
desk
an
worker.
accountant.
No, I don't think so. But there's not really many careers that you can go compete and do something that can actually make you better at your job.
Yes. Yeah, yes. I know what you're saying because you're trying to not offend other people or accountants out there. We
Yeah,
don't want to
yeah.
offend
Because
accountants. We need you in
yeah,
April for sure.
yeah. Because
But it's one of those
I
things
haven't
that,
done.
go ahead.
I haven't done my research in those different venues. I know like line workers, they have whole competitions for those,
Yeah.
and those are pretty intense as well.
Yep, I've seen a few of them out there. Or like lumberjack competitions, let's say,
Mhm.
for folks that do that. But again, these are things that we in the fire service, in the emergency services, fire,
Mhm.
police, EMS, whichever you're doing, our job is physical. There's just no
Mhm.
ifs, ands, or buts about it. And there's a different physicality that goes into that. So whatever you could be doing, whether it be playing pickup basketball, whether it be
Mhm.
playing, doing Spartan races, doing
Mhm.
combat challenges, CrossFit, you name it, it's going to make you better at your job. And I think that's a huge part of trying to say I'm doing something else that's not just playing video games or watching TV.
Mhm. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, we all want to go back to our families. And if we could do anything that can translate as fun or competitive, that'll make us better off going home, I'm all for it, whatever it is.
Yeah, and it's okay that they didn't know that 30 years
Hmm.
ago, the importance
Yep.
of this, and that too, with our jobs changing, the physicality in our job, it's always been there, but it's
Hmm.
also different now too, where when people are off the job, they're not doing roofing every day. They're not
Right.
carrying shingles up to the roof every day like they were
Hmm.
30, 40 years ago. And even now, roofers are shooting them up with a little trolley
Uh,
on a ladder, which is
oh yeah,
really
yeah. The
not
elevator.
to
Yeah.
take anything away, but taking that elevator in. But
Right.
that's it. Everything is changing, and so we have to adapt and overcome. And you have to find something you like doing to make
Hmm.
that happen because it's not the easiest thing getting into the gym.
Oh no, absolutely not. And really, the hardest part is driving to the gym. But when you have like us, you have a team of people that are constantly checking you to see where you're at, if you're on your way or whatever it is. It's you're not alone in this journey.
I do agree with you. And I have a gym in my garage. And even sometimes just walking out to my garage from my
Hmm.
office by myself is not the easiest thing in the world to do because it's just going to be me. It's me on me.
Right. Right.
And I think too, the social media community helps us out with that as well. And I'm sure it helps you guys out in your training because, let's say you're competing against a team from Chicago that has a social media account and you see what they're doing and you're like, well, those
Hmm.
guys beat us by 0.8 of a second last time. We need to do this harder than they do.
Oh yeah, for sure. We all follow each other on different social medias, like St. Lucie or Texas or any of those guys. We follow them all, and we see how hard they're out there pushing it. And we were close, or whatever the race was last time. We remember it, so we never forget until even seasons pass. You still never forget, but we're always pushing, trying to push ourselves harder than anyone else out there. I mean, it probably the same can be said for any other competitor out there. They're always watching and doing what people are doing, and I got a little flack last year because I was posting so much on like TikTok and stuff like that because they're like, "What? Why are you showing them how much we're working out?" I said, "I want to be transparent. I'm not hiding anything. Everyone has the recipe to make the cake. I mean, it's not a secret. You just have to actually do it."
I want to put the fear in them to show them what we're doing. But you see, I just watched my boys and I and Tracy just watched the documentary on HBO Max for Shaun White, the snowboarder. And it
Hmm.
covers his entire career from being a very little kid until the end. And
Hmm.
that was a big thing that he talked about was watching other people. And especially in the twilight of his career here towards the end,
Hmm.
where there were some Asian snowboarders that were just on a different level than him. And he's like,
Hmm.
this is what I have to do. I have to beat
Yep.
them. And
Hmm.
being able to put that out there and see it, it's helpful for anybody.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, they someone might come up with a different technique than we never have even thought about. We had a company reach out to us, I think from the UK, about getting it's like our Rescue Randy's, but it's floppy. Like it gives you 100% dead weight. There's no support at all. And I've thought about reaching out to them or trying to secure one for next season. And there's just different ways of people training just around the world that, I'll sit on my phone. I probably shouldn't because my wife yells at me all the time. And just do research, just trying to figure out different ways to make us better, make me better, make me faster, whatever. And I mean, that's kind of how I found hikes, and I found, Lakeland and all these great guys who are willing to help us do that.
And look at that. You brought up a common friend of ours just like that. And part of what you're doing too out there is you're reaching out for support, right? Because this is not necessarily, it's not free. Let's just put it that way, to be able to go to these competitions and compete with your team. And you're always looking for sponsorships. You're always looking for any way to get out there. Now, your team is a not-for-profit or is not?
It's a not-for-profit team.
Okay,
yeah, we got it registered last year. And yeah, that's all that we ask for as much help as we can get because it's not cheap. You look at the registration just for nationals, it's $125 a person, and then we got to pay for lodging and fuel, and we have to get our shifts covered or any of this kind of stuff. So I mean, it can add up. But luckily, we have great people in our corner that are supporting us. Hikes has been fantastic. They gave us those new boots, and holy crap, they're lighter than my regular. I call them sort boots, but they're my special ops boots. They're lighter, and the weight distribution is just like it's to the middle of your foot rather than the heavy toe or something like that. And they're structure rated. They're I think they're based off of the European version of the same boots, but ours are just higher. They have a little neoprene cuff that goes around your calf that keeps all the sweat and nasty crap from going in your socks. Maybe
structurally it's meant to keep all the bad stuff from going into your feet.
Yes.
But for you guys in the competition world, it keeps your socks from getting soaked from your calves, essentially.
Right. I heard there's a few departments out there that have the new boots, and they're a lot like snowboard boots. And I reached out to one of them and I was like, do they actually keep your socks wet or dry at a fire? He goes, yeah, for the most part. I mean, they're pretty dry because I know like us competing. I mean, I come up with clean socks almost every time. It's insane to me. I just don't understand.
It's amazing too with hikes that like the technology and the time they put in with them, and into their development of these products. And I've worked with them now for a few years, and totally honored to have them as a podcast sponsor. And this past FDIC, we all got to try on the new boots, and very much like a snowboard boot. It's exactly what I felt like. But when you walk in them, and I think back to, I want to say when I started, I did start with rubber boots that I first wore. And then I went into a pair of leathers, which was just like, night and day to, oh my God, what this was, to where they've come now with the technology of comfort and protection and weight is just unbelievable.
Oh yeah. And it's like I can't remember what they called it. It's kind of like a ratchet system type thing where you pull up two different laces and it like secures around your foot a lot like a tennis shoe is. So you think about it like a regular structure boot, it's just flopping around. But you tighten those things up, and it feels like you're running in just a high tennis shoe.
It was cool too when someone, and I don't know who it was, but when they realized about how they need to keep our ankles secure in those boots to keep it comfort level, but to keep the boots on as well. Because I remember the first ones I had were like flopping off a little bit as you were crawling, but once they secured you in your ankle, they were really staying on better. And the way that that system works that you're talking about is the second you pull up that tension, it doesn't grab you where you think it's grabbing you. You know what I mean? Like you think it's going to grab you on your calf, but it's really grabbing you on your ankle a little bit more. And once you get it down, how to do it, excellent. It took a little bit in FDIC learning for us to get that curve.
Oh yeah, we still have guys on the team that have competed in the boots, and I'm like, trim your laces and get it done right so you don't have this, that, and the other flopping around. But for I mean, everyone who's even tried them on, even Mackenzie, our dispatcher, and Kristen, my wife, both of them have never really had structure boots ever. They've seen them, but they go, are these what you guys, fight fire in? I said, right now, no, but we're working on that because they've been given the top of the line stuff. They don't know any better, but I've had all different kinds of boots. And I could say hands down, I would fight fire in those easily.
That's one of those things too where people are like, oh, these are top of the line. Everybody must get these on day one. And you're like, no,
Yeah,
it takes a
not at
few
all.
years for the new stuff to get to the general population. If you work on a
Mm-hmm.
rescue in a department,
Mm-hmm.
you generally get the cool new stuff first because you're the testers, or if you get to be the tester
Yep.
guy. I've been fortunate, I've been the tester guy a few times.
Mm-hmm.
But by the time those products roll out to the entire department, it takes a
Mm-hmm.
bit.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean, been fortunate to test out a few things, but I mean, not as far as gear goes. But we've been great. I mean, both Zach and Shannon with hikes over there, they treated us great. And I could text Zach right now or call him right now and he'd pick up. There's not many major companies out there that you can do that to. You call and you get a automated message or leave a voicemail and we'll call you back in a week when we want to.
Yeah, it's good to know. Zach is definitely in our corner for a lot of things. And like I said, I've been really fortunate to work on a few projects with him and with
Mm-hmm.
hikes, and it just seems to always get better and better. I do not have those structural boots that you're talking about, but I do have their latest sneaker, and even that for
Oh yeah.
work and for working out in it's just a
Mm-hmm.
super comfy. I think it's really crazy because again, how worlds align and things. Like I was
Mm-hmm.
wearing their boots and shoes as station wear prior to ever meeting Zach or them or anything.
Mm-hmm.
When I was talking to him initially, he's like, "Oh wait, you wear these?" And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
"Yeah, that's all I bought because you guys make them in my size." Because being
Mm-hmm.
vertically challenged, not everyone
Mm-hmm.
makes things in smaller folk sizes, but they did. And it's just been a great relationship. And I think that's a big important part, especially for a team like yours and who's supporting you, to have
Mm-hmm.
that relationship back and forth.
Oh, absolutely. And I've kind of pitched him a few ideas here or there, just for like promo stuff. But like I said, I could just text him about anything. I had an idea the other day. So Hikes is obviously a European-based country, and they have a lot of teams they sponsor over there. They have an Austrian team, Germany, all this kind of stuff. And I said, why don't we have a U.S. team? We need a U.S. team to go over there and compete against them because I know they want to compete against us. And I mean, I'm not saying I'm good enough to be on it, but I would love to facilitate that. And so I just text him out of nowhere. He goes, "That's not a terrible idea."
May take a little bit, but it's not terrible. But I think too,
Yeah.
people don't necessarily understand how much work goes into something like this. To
Mm-hmm.
forming the team, to kind of running the team, right? Which is, I guess
Right.
I don't know, do you have a title? Are you the
Mm-hmm.
captain? Or are you
Um.
the
So
guy who runs
I'm
the team? Is that your title? The guy who
yeah,
runs the
yeah,
team?
basically.
Okay.
So I have like my number one and my number two guys. And so I run everything, but luckily we have our three originals that are in the voting group of five. But then we have our logistics and financial guy that he manages all that kind of stuff. But for like promo and all that kind of stuff, I'm pretty much the point of contact with all of our supporters. And then we have the others that help us vote. Really, I just have everybody I'll take care of all the big stuff. Just show up, compete, practice. You're good to go. I'll take care of everything else.
And people and your teammates appreciate that because they see how much hard work you're putting in and all these things that you're able to do for that. And I'm sure they want to participate. And when they do, it just makes it even better.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to set this up to where when I decide I can't do it anymore or won't do it anymore, because my wife and I are trying to start a family, and so when that happens, I'll be pulled different directions, to where this entity can kind of float on its own. Like I might help it in the beginning stages, but I don't want our department to lose a combat team for another 20 years, because this is just like we've been saying the whole time. This is another avenue for firemen who, if they want to be active and they want to go do something, this is something that they can continue to do. Even long past when we're gone. I would like to this continue just to keep on rolling, because you hear a lot of teams. Um, Back in the day, I used to watch, or not back in the day, but recently I've been watching a lot of videos for like from the '90s, and certain teams you just don't hear of anymore. New Mexico was one of them, for instance, and they were huge. They had monster teams, and these guys were world champions. And then now I don't know if I know any competitors from New Mexico, and so I don't want it to be like one of those again.
But that's such a big thing. Like you're trying to set up a legacy organization and you're already
Mm-hmm.
realizing that look, and trust me, buddy, when you start that family, life changes
Mm-hmm.
a lot, right? And
I've heard.
it's both the best and worst decision I've ever made in my life, all wrapped into one.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Um, but if you're not setting this organization up, if this team up for someone else to pick
Mm-hmm.
up where you're going and continue this, it's not going to work. And I think that's what happens to a lot of folks. They're running something and
Mm-hmm.
not setting it up to continue as a legacy, not setting someone else up to take the reins. And not that you're going away, but you just can't commit the time to it. And when
Mm-hmm.
you have that set up, that's what creates these organizations to keep going.
Yeah, I'm trying to shoot for the long game. Yes, I'm trying to compete and everything like that now, but I'm really trying to think what's the best interest for Memphis firemen. Last year we had a Shelby County fireman on, and now since then he started his own team. And I've helped a few other area departments around us start teams as well. And the thing is I just want firemen just to be better suited to go home. I don't want, people to have heart attack in the yard after they've done a bunch of overhaul or, to be 30, 40 pounds overweight. If I can start them off on the right path, then they can choose for themselves, what they want to do. And I'd like to be a huge advocate for anyone trying anything to do anything.
No, I mean, you already are. Like, I follow your social media. I see it all out there. Like, you're doing it, and you're doing it just by that example alone of saying, like, someone from Shelby County came and now they've
Mhm,
started their own team.
mhm.
And just promoting it to grow and grow and grow is going to just be better for everyone.
Yeah, we have one group message which is just Bluff City Combat, and then I have an FCL training group that I have people from Germantown, Corinth, Mississippi, Shelby County, Bartlett, Carville, just like our area departments, to where, hey, if you guys want to come out and practice with us any day you want, I mean, come out, we'll grow this thing. And a lot of people come up to me at these competitions because we're one of the more vocal on social media, and they're like, how do you do this, how do you do that, this, that, and the other, how do you gain this sponsorship? And I was like, look, I could paint you the picture, but you have to put in the footwork. I will help you however I can, but you actually have to do it. And so, I mean, I've helped some people, and they've taken off. We have a team down in Louisiana called the Ash Clowns. They've only ever competed in Pensacola on the beach, and this is their first year on the course. And I mean, I've given them every link or any sponsorship or people that I think they should contact. Like whatever y'all want, whatever y'all need, you've actually put forth the effort.
It's one of those things too. Like, you're trying to help people, but you're not going to do it for them. And there are definitely
Right.
folks out there that when they come to you for help, it turns into do this for me.
Mm-hmm.
Or they get really frustrated when, if I gave you 10 telephone numbers and only two worked, that's
Mm-hmm.
you have to call all 10 to find out which two works for you. You know what I mean? Type
Oh
of a
yeah.
thing. And I think that's kind of what you're seeing through these other people by growing it.
Mm-hmm.
You're able to help them, but I can't run mine and run yours. It's a good way to put it.
Right. Oh yeah, I'm my team comes first as far as that goes, but I'm not going to hide anything from anybody. If anybody has there had somebody ask me for a template for an email, I said I can't write it. I'm not going to write an email for you. I'm sorry. I mean, I can tell you roughly what you should say, but that's it. I'm not going to write it for you.
They literally want to take out your team
Hmm.
name and put
Hmm.
their team name in and ship
Yeah,
it off there.
yeah.
Which
Like
again is
no, I'm
probably
not doing
something you
that.
don't even do, it sounds like, where it's always an individualized email or anything like that.
Oh yeah,
There's definitely not a
because I mean,
simple ride to these things.
no, and that's in my opinion that's the biggest difference between us and some of these other people is I take the time out and I actually I like to put a name or a face to the name, not just hey this is the regular email I send to everybody, here you go. I like to do my research, and if they're interested, cool, but if not, and they respond, yeah, we're not able to this, that, and the other, I make sure I respond and say, I appreciate you taking the time to, respond to me. I mean, maybe we could touch base later at a different date. I'm not one who's like, oh, okay, cool. You're not helping me. Yeah, I'm not going to talk to you anymore.
Sounds really familiar because I'm pretty sure when you reached out to me, I was like, man,
Mm-hmm.
there's way too much in an email for me to write back. Let's just
Mm-hmm.
jump on a phone call.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I remember I was
Really?
sitting in the parking lot of headquarters and we were talking. I go, holy crap. I'm having a podcast with that guy today.
I was like, I gotta call you, man. I can't. And
Mm-hmm.
you do that a lot. There's some people I can help out in an email if you reach out. There's other ones where I'm like, we have to talk about this because this is just
Mm-hmm.
and to, and I've talked about this a lot, but there's a difference in typing something and saying something. and understanding exactly, because I wasn't 100% even understanding what you were asking me at the time.
Right.
And when you explained it more, it made more sense to me. But those are those extra things that we can do to help other people and just keep
Yeah.
paying it forward to try to grow this thing. And when Zach had suggested you coming on the podcast, I'm like, I look in my phone real quick
I did the same thing.
because he didn't put your full name, right? And I'm like, I've talked to this guy before, and I'm like, because I was in my phone, and so I typed in like Bluff City, and I'm like, yep, I know that guy. I was like, yeah, that's awesome, and we'll have him jump on and talk real quick. It'd be great.
Yeah.
But that said, again, that paying it forward thing that it sounds like the Bluff City team is 100% for.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And if anyone were to ever want to email me wherever they are, or reach out on Facebook or Instagram or any of that kind of stuff, or even TikTok, usually I think me and our deciding group are all moderators on almost everything, and we always respond whoever it is. And if we don't have an answer for you and we can get it for you, that's fine. It doesn't take any effort, to me to send an email or a text or whatever it is.
I'm so jealous of you in TikTok. I can't do it. I've tried, man. My kids try
Dude,
to get me on it.
it's not easy.
I just can't. I'm trying. We
Mm-hmm.
talk about it for National Fire Radio and for the size up here, and it's just like, oh, we got to get on there, but we still haven't. This has been months of talking.
It doesn't make a lot of sense the way all this stuff does. But we've had some videos go viral for some reasons, and then some videos just not do great when I think they're going to do awesome. And I don't know the algorithm or crap, so I do the best I can.
Oh, dude, that's what we're all out here doing. So it's awesome too that you wrapped up my podcast for me because we're getting into the hour time frame, and I know you have another appointment to get to, but you're like, anybody could reach out to me. So where are the folks looking to reach out to you? How are they gonna find you?
They can reach out if they want to email me. It's bluffcitycombat@gmail.com. Or on Facebook, we're the Bluff City Combat Team, or Instagram, the same, the Bluff City Combat Team, or on TikTok. Any of those avenues, I mean, I'm always watching my phone. I probably shouldn't, but I'm always watching my phone. If anyone ever, wants to, reach out or whatever it is, or they want some training tips, just reach out. I'll do what I can to help you out. It's all about, like you said, it's passing it on.
That's it. There is no template though, so you're not getting the template
No.
email from the Bluff City Combat Team, but they will
No.
give you a template for how to start and how to get into this world for sure, or some tips, tricks, and hacks, as my buddy Jeremy says. So I got to sneak that one in there today. It's been a couple episodes since I snuck in a Jeremyism, so thanks, appreciate that.
Nice.
And all those, the email and all the stuff will be in the show notes. So wherever you're listening to this, you can see it down there to reach out to these guys. And as we do, wrapping up the size up here, every episode, we do the size up 10. So it's going to be your 10 rapid fire questions. They're not very hard.
Okay.
You can take as much time, but we want to go fast is generally the rule, but no one goes fast. So
I'll do the best I can. Yep.
If not, you'll be the first person to not answer though. So you'll be the first failure. You don't want to be the first person to fail.
No,
so.
I won't be the first one.
All right, here we go. Beach or mountains?
Beach.
Night out or night in?
Night out.
A good book or a good movie?
Movie.
Cross country road trip. Who's your co-pilot gonna be?
Even though she sleeps through the entire time, it'll be my wife.
It's so funny. So many people pick their spouse, but there's always some kind of a something in there. Like she just sleeps the whole time and I drive.
Yeah.
I know how that goes. I have 3 sleepers now. So it's me and 3 people sleeping and me driving.
Nice.
Do you make your bed every day?
No.
$1 million right now that we don't have, or you go back to 18 years old with a redo.
I like my life, so I'm gonna have to keep the $1 million.
All right, the check's in the mail, buddy.
Sweet.
Highway or back roads?
Back roads.
Love it. Bucket list place to visit?
Ireland.
Oh, nice. Very nice. It's on my list. All right, this is the big one. Football or football?
American football.
Go America right there. All right, last one, man. Best advice you could give to your younger self?
Don't stop progressing. Don't get complacent.
I like that. I like that one, right? Because we do. We all get complacent.
Yeah.
We all stop progressing.
Mm-hmm.
And when you realize it, you're like, oh, I got to keep going. And it can be the simplest
Mm-hmm.
thing, but it's that realization that you have stopped doing it that you have to remind yourself of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you've got to get back up and keep going. I mean, you can't sit there and squabble about, or cry about things. You just got to keep going.
Yeah. And two, I think we all look for when we talk about something like that, with complacency or with progressing, we all look for these grand things, but
Mm-hmm.
it's just like for you on the challenge team, a tenth of a second could
Mm-hmm.
set you over the person you're competing against.
So all it takes is one extra step.
Ooh, I like that. May be the name of this one. One extra step, actually. I try to always grab something my guests say is to name this one, and I think that just
Mm-hmm.
that just happened right there at the end, so it worked out good.
Sweet.
Mike, I can't thank you enough for joining me today on the Size Up by National Fire Radio. Everybody out there, make sure you check out the Bluff City Combat Team. Even if you're not interested in competing in any
Mm-hmm.
type of firefighter challenge, just check these guys out because they're really inspirational to watch them on social media and see what they're doing. And who knows, maybe they will inspire you to get out there and compete or get out there and push a little bit harder or take that extra step.
Well, I appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me.
No worries. And thanks to all the sponsors, especially our friends at Hikes, all their help with the Bluff City Combat Team, supporting the Size Up by National Fire Radio and all the competitors
Mm-hmm.
they support. They're another great social media page. See a lot of things out of Europe that are very different than what we do here,
Oh yeah.
but it's still something that you can learn from. So make sure to check out Hikes as well. And as we wrap up here, this is Pip from the Size Up by National Fire Radio. We'll catch you guys next time.